maybe we could just unpack that a bit. What was the line of thinking that led you guys to predict something like Bitcoin? Again, I assumed you're writing this in like 95, 96, published in 97. So we're talking about, 13 to 15 years before Bitcoin even existed. How did you guys predict this? Yes, and I mean, as we were saying offline earlier, I think one of the likely possibilities of this, at least directionally, is that the more censorship we see, whether it's truckers having their contributions seized in Canada, or it's the censorship of Russia off of the SWIFT network, that is likely to stimulate more demand internationally, globally, for censorship resistant money like Bitcoin. Um,
Yes.
and again, this was especially in the Bitcoin community, this was probably the number one prediction of your book that came to pass, that really cements its prescience. And this idea of effectively what you called the ultimate offshore bank, right? I think you said when the ultimate offshore bank is open for business, or what you said, when the greatest tax haven of them all is fully open for business, all funds will essentially be offshore funds at the discretion of their owner. And that's pretty much describing Bitcoin, right? It's the Swiss bank account in your pocket, in your brain, within your circle of trust, however you choose to custody that. So maybe we could just unpack that a bit. What was the line of thinking that led you guys to predict something like Bitcoin? Again, I assumed you're writing this in like 95, 96, published in 97. So we're talking about, 13 to 15 years before Bitcoin even existed. How did you guys predict this?
Well, it seemed to me that the ingredients were right out there in public view. You knew that you could have a high form of encryption. So I just put two and two together and got four. I thought it was one of my easiest predictions, in the sense that maybe I should have started Bitcoin instead of just predicting it. But I thought the same thing about a number of my predictions. I predicted that the Soviet Union would collapse. And I should have gone to Ladbrokes in London and said, what odds will you give me on $1 million bet that the Soviet Union will not exist in 5 years? I could have probably could have made a huge fortune on that. But I did something else. I bought a property in St. Petersburg on the Nevsky Prospect near the Winter Palace, because the Soviets had allowed private investment in real estate at that point. And it's probably because the oligarchs wanted to be able to cash out. Mm-hmm. And the more bids they could get, the better. So I did invest in a property in the Nevsky Prospect. And in the beginning, we seemed to be doing very well. But then Putin got involved and forced us to sell. He said, well, you could keep some of it. He was the assistant to the mayor of St. Petersburg at that time. And he was in charge of foreign investment. So he made us sell, which we did. And he let us keep some of our profit. But it wasn't a huge win. It was a great idea, a great insight that had a piddling return, because I didn't spend as much time as I should have thinking about how to profit from it.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's one of the hazards of thinking ahead. You don't do all your thinking in one. I have done pretty well in a lot of the things I thought about, but that was not one that lent itself to an easy financial reward, because the whole thing about the Soviet Union was that they didn't want people to make a lot of money. You could make money, but it wasn't on the up and up.
Hmm.
That's why some of the oligarchs were able to steal the economy when it came to an end. The ones who were active in the underground realm were the ones who were best positioned to make money out of it.
Hmm.